Hello everyone and welcome to today's Starseed Healing Circle. I'm back from Egypt. First of all, apologies for not posting anything in the month that I was gone. I was not aware that Patreon is blocked in Egypt. And so on the day I wanted to post my first healing session in Egypt, it was like, I can't get in. So I tried, I think I must have tried something like 5 or 6 different VPNs. I had to pay for some of them just to get to see if they work. And it so turned out that Egypt also blocks the VPNs. So I could not get on. And then I went into a panic and a flat spin, and I had to really find a way to just let you guys know that I'm okay and that I was going to post at another stage. And eventually I got a friend of mine to do that for me, but it was also a bit of a mission because I was on the way to Sinai, to the temple that I'm going to be speaking about today, and we were literally in the middle of the desert. There was no connection, and there was one little window of about an hour where we drove into the local hotspot where the internet is working, and I could arrange for the passwords and everything so that my friend could make that post for you guys to let you know that I was okay. And yeah, anyway, so I'm back and the healings will continue. What I will do in the next few weeks is I'm going to revisit the temples and the sacred sites and some of the work that I've done in Egypt. And I will use this almost like a way to consolidate the information, as well as some of the work that I've done on that side, and just bring that into the now reality for you guys as well, so that you can experience it with me. So let's get cracking. Let's start with our tuning. So first of all, with tuning, I think I've got about it's somewhere between 100 and 200 light codes. And when I do these sessions, I close my eyes and I douse through the list, and then once I've got the selected one, then I open my eyes and see what it is. And today was no different, and very, very appropriately we got the Heart Chakra Lightcode Activation, which, I mean, you can't make this stuff up. This is so in alignment with what the work is all about today. So let's close your eyes perhaps. Just tune into what it is that you would like to work with today. So just letting you know that we are working with the heart chakra. So perhaps you want to focus your work around the heart, presence, compassion, love, healing. Whatever is appropriate for you for today. And once you've formulated what you would like to receive or let go of or heal and bring into your life, just open your eyes and allow your eyes to rest on the light code wherever it does. Perhaps to gently trace the lines with your eyes, like a labyrinth for the eyes. Paying attention to where the eyes get stuck, where the eyes flow, and focusing on your goal for today. What would you like to receive? What would you like to bring into your life or let go of or heal? You may spend as much time here as you need. Just preparing the session today, I re-experienced some of the feelings that I had at the first temple. I will chat about that in a second, but setup is done and everything, but I am actually quite out of it. I am floating in a different level and dimension. So this healing has already started, even though you guys have not tuned in yet, but let's go. So let's have a look at the setup for today. Okay, so I have with us today my scarf. This is a scarf that traveled with me for the entire Egyptian trip. I've actually had this for a number of years, and I normally wear it in winter, but I decided it would be quite appropriate to take with me to Egypt. And when I was in Egypt, I was told that these are the colors that represent Egypt, the black and the white scarf. Also apparently Palestine. So it was quite an appropriate one. And this scarf was with me wherever I went. I would wet it and put the wet cloth around my neck to keep me cool because it was quite hot in the desert. Other things we have here on the left, we have the sistrum, which is associated with the Hathor. That's the little face that you see there with the cow's ears. And then next to the sistrum is the lotus wand or lotus staff, which represents femininity and the divine feminine. And then on the right, we've got the was staff, or the staff of power, which represents masculinity. So you've got the two balance here, the divine feminine and divine masculine. In the top, there is a big stone, and this is a stone that I was called to collect at the Hathor Temple, where we were. We've got the light code in the center, and then right at the bottom we've got my crystal skull, Sefer, and my two pendulums. Now all three of these, they traveled with me wherever I went in Egypt, and so did the Wands of Horus cards that you have on the right. And so these little pieces of tools or friends, they soaked up a lot of the energy along the way, so I thought it's appropriate to bring them in to the fold for today's session. I then started packing a grid, and I didn't really think about it. I just allowed the cards to flow as they do, but as I came to close to the end, I was like, oh, okay, I'm seeing a pattern over here. So the cards that came up, first of all, right in the center is the heart card. So again, very appropriate for the work that we're doing today, working with the heart chakra, working with heart activation, and with the Hathor activation. The card just underneath the heart is the physical body, and the card above that is the Ak, or the immortal self. So we're taking the immortal self, the spirit, bringing that through the heart into our physicality. On either side of the physical body, the red card is Sechem, which is power. And on the right, we've got Haibit, which is shadow. So working with how you balance your power and your shadow aspects on the physical plane, and then feeding that through the heart space. Now what's happening here is just next to the heart, we've got the Ka and the Ba. Ka is your astral body, and the Ba is your spirit body. So it's like your personality. It's the Ka and the Ba is like the yin and yang aspects in ancient Egypt. Now we've got on the left side with the lotus staff, we've got the divine feminine, and on the was on the right we've got the divine masculine. But what's happening is the Ka and the Ba have switched roles. So it's almost like we're swapping the yin and the yang, which means from your power and your shadow there's a crossover, and then there's another crossover happening. So in this particular spread, there's a weaving of the energy of weaving and crisscrossing the yin and the yang, the positive and the negative, the feminine and the masculine. So that's what's happening with the Ka and the Ba on either side of the heart. And then either side of the immortal self, we've got the Sahu and the Ren. So Sahu is your inner judge, or your, again, spiritual body, and the Ren is your divine, secret, sacred name. Then there's a crisscross angle that happens, which is also quite interesting. So the orange card on top left is the Tiet, or Tayet, which is the divine feminine aspect, the buckle of Isis, which then filters through the Sahu, Ib, the heart, and the Haibit into the divine masculine. So another crisscross happening from yin to yang. Then we've got Shin, the blue card top right, which filters through the Ren and the Ib and the Sechem into the divine feminine. And Shin and Tiet or Tayet is both protective elements, but Tayet or Tiet is feminine passive, while the Shin is more active masculine. So again, we've got that crisscross happening with the yin and yang. Right on top, the yellow card is the radiance card. Right at the bottom, we've got the divine child. So the three cards at the bottom is divine feminine silver, divine child copper, and divine masculine in gold. And that's our setup over here. So we are going to be weaving in today's session between the polarities, so that we can get into that central quiet heart space. Okay, so let's take you on a little journey. So going to this Hathor Temple, it was really in the middle of nowhere in the Sinai desert. Let's get my picture out of the way. So the area is called Serbia el-Khadim, and I think it's like literally slap bang in the middle of Sinai. And this is what it looked like. I must admit, I'm not a desert person, and so this whole trip for me was like, oh my god, I'm going into the desert. And this is really what it all looked like. It's very dry, desolate, in the middle of nowhere. I saw a little donkey under the tree. I thought it was quite sweet. Walking up the mountain at Serbia el-Khadim, halfway up, we got to a little pit stop where we could take a breather. And as I looked up, I saw my first hieroglyphs in the mountains. And it was just like, wow, there's hieroglyphs just here in the mountain. No monument, no nothing. It was literally just in the stone. And these stones were filled with hieroglyphs and symbols and signs. This was our view, which, as I'd mentioned again, spectacular but desolate. And as I looked out over this, I really just realized the vastness of this all and the smallness of man. We finally reached the plateau, and this is very hot, as you can see, hot and dry. So we are hiking. As we were hiking on the plateau, these were the first signs that I saw that we're getting close to the temple. It was these round things that looked like they may have been huts or something, and that they've been dismantled along the way. And there were quite a few of these, probably about 12 of these circular structures, and in between you see these long stones that look like they don't quite belong to the rest of the rough stone. So I think these are new structures or newer structures that were created and then destroyed along the way. Then as I walked a little bit further, I then found this stele which was lying on its side, and I was like, okay, now we're getting really close to the temple. And sure enough, as I looked up, I saw the temple in the distance, and we arrived. So the temple itself is pretty much abandoned. It is really lying in pieces. It's very, very broken. However, from the moment I set foot through that front door, you'll see there's two whiteboards up on the left, and just to the right of them there's a little entrance. That's one of the entrances. The other one is a little bit more to the left and you can't see it. But from the moment I entered, I became so extremely dizzy that a number of times I had to either stop, or I had to hold onto something, or I had to like crouch down because everything was spinning. There was something here in the energy that I don't know, I had to really calibrate and receive. But all of this, as I was looking at everything, whenever I got to something really significant, I would literally be like breathing and pausing, and everything was spinning around me. And funny enough, as I was setting up this morning and I was preparing, I had that same spinning happening in my head, and this is also why I'm a little bit out of it. That same dizzy spell was happening, and initially when it happened, I thought, oh, blood sugar dropped a little bit, but it kept going in this particular temple, and it kept going until we left the temple. So it was just at this specific site where it happened. Before that, nothing. After that, nothing. But yeah, loads of downloads here. So as I was going through the temple, there's a little image of Hathor. She was lying on the floor. As I was going through, I found this on one of the walls, the left and right eye of Horus or Ra, and in between the two eyes, the symbol for Shen, the eternity or protection, and underneath that it's chipped away, but you can see it. There's three things that looks almost like musical instruments. Those that will translate to Nefer or Neferum or Nefertum, and Nefer means beautiful, so it's like a triple beauty. So you've got the eyes, and then you've got eternity and beauty. And I was just really, really, really drawn to this particular area of the temple, and I sat down and I placed my forehead on that shin, and that was me gone for I don't know how long, and I went into meditation. Walter actually took this photo of me, and there's another photo there, and I was just sitting like that. I have no idea how long I sat there, and initially I just had images floating and flying at me, mainly hieroglyphs, images. I saw a lot of images of Hathor's face, this type of face, obviously with a lot more clarity. And the only words that I could say or that came out of my mouth is, I'm so sorry, we forgot. And the realization that this temple is here, lost, forgotten, and not just this temple, but there's many others all over Egypt. But the traditions, the history, the knowledge, the wisdom, the experiences, all of that is forgotten. I became very emotional, and I actually made a voice note of it while I was sitting there. I'll listen back to the voice note and see if it's worth actually putting into this recording. But basically, what I saw and what I perceived was how the temple looked in its glory in that time. It wasn't as desolate and desert-like at that time. It was a little bit more lush. I got the full flavor and feeling of what the place felt like, the fullness of it all, the holiness and sanctity of it all, where people would come in silence and come to do prayers and worship. And with that, I also heard sing and dance of the young maidens who were priestesses here. So I had this flood of memories and insights, and I think this is still going to process for quite a while afterwards. But yeah, I just received all of that. So I'll definitely have to listen back to my voice note, but it was just this overwhelming sense of emotions and everything that came through, and there was a lot of healing in this particular moment while I was sitting here. So let's quickly move through on from here. As I got up and I carried on towards the back end of the temple, I found this, which would have been a placement for water, where you would cleanse yourself before going into the final aspects or final parts of the temple. So the first part that we were in, that's sort of the everyday side for people to go into. When we get here, we're getting into the Holy of the Holies, where you have to be clean. So this is a watering place where you would cleanse yourself. Just over to the right of that is the first alcove, which would have been a worshipping place, where there would have been a statue or something in that little alcove. And this became a space where we did quite a bit of ceremony and healing as well. So just off, this is right next to that little space for the bath. Sephra decided to come sit down, and I did a bit of a meditation over here. And later on, Sephra and Savarius, which is the other crystal skull, went into, this is in that alcove where we lit a candle, had some incense burning. We offered some water, and there was quite a bit of ceremony happening over here, lots of healing. Once all of this was done, the Wands of Horus came into the central position to soak up all of that energy. Then just off to the left of that alcove, you'll see, if you look on the right hand side of the picture, there's two little stones standing up. That is where the alcove is. So this is just to the left of that. This is the Holy of Holies, and there's an entrance right in front of me, and there's also an entrance off onto the from the right hand side. So just as you get into the Holy of Holies, another one of those bowls. This is a smaller one. Assuming that you have already cleansed yourself in the larger bowl, you would perhaps do some anointing or some final cleanse before going to the Holy of Holies and doing your worshipping here. So the Holy of Holies is then through this sort of list of these pillars, and inside there is another alcove. Now this was quite a dark room. I couldn't get enough photos in here. They had some reinforcement structures here to actually keep this place intact, but I can see that people had placed some offerings over there. I was not called to do any healing work in this particular spot, but my friend and myself just came into the space and just really were present here for a brief moment. We are the only two that actually came into this particular chamber. The rest of our group did not come into this chamber. Then when we completed all of our work, we left through the top end of the temple. So you'll see the Holy of Holies there, those very tall pillars and the block structure. And just in front of the block structure, there's a little pillar sticking up, and there's a little room that you can see. That room is where we did the alcove. And you can also see just off to the left of the center, that bowl or the bath where you would do your cleansing. So it's not a big temple, it's not very big, but very, very, very powerful. As we left, there was one intact, very beautifully preserved pillar, and the locals actually packed stones around it to keep this as a protected site. I went into this space and I did a little bit of a meditation and opening of the energy on the Hathor itself, so on her throat, her third eye, crown, with some agua de Florida and some essential oils, and we did a little bit of an offering over here. On our way out, this was our view, and that was the sun going down as we were leaving. And then one little final photo was taken. Actually, 5 photos were taken. My friend took a photo of Walter and myself, and there's 5 photos, and one of the photos I have this, I don't know what it is, on my third eye. This is the only photo that had this present. All the other photos are quite normal. There's no lens flares or anything in it. And this was a live photo. I'm trying to see if I can get the original live photo, but when we look at the live photo, there's actually 2 orbs, and they go like this in front of me, and the camera is still, so it's not like it's a lens flare from the sun, which is what I would have thought it would be because of the movement that it made. It was really weird. So I had these orbs flying around in front of my head, which was not the first or the last orbs that we saw on this entire journey. So that's our little background into the healing for today. So we are focusing on this, and I am going to do some healing using the pendulums and also the sistrum, and then we'll see what comes up, if there's anything that I need to still add or talk about. So I'm going to see if my cable should be long enough. Let's just quickly switch this off. I'll keep that on screen for you, and I'm just moving over to my setup that I have here, which is on the floor. So if you want to, you can close your eyes, or you can keep your eyes open, whatever is appropriate for you. Taking up the sistrum, and we'll start off by waking up the energies here. Next we'll take the lotus staff and the was staff. Lotus staff in my left hand, was staff in my right hand. So we can focus and bring that polarity energies in. Just breathe nice and slow and deep. Connecting both staffs to the stone. Stone was received just behind the Hathor Temple as we were leaving. There were actually two. One was a perfectly square stone, and then this one was a slightly rounded one. And we have both of them. Okay. From there, connecting both staffs to the crystal skull. And from here, connecting both wands to the ib card, the heart in the center of our spread. Both wands are placed down, and we'll go with the hue golden hue pendulum, and starting off with a counterclockwise spin. We're releasing, cleansing, clearing, removing any blocks, releasing any negative patterns, normal timelines, parallel universes, dimensions. And we're just releasing anything that's standing in the way of you healing or manifesting or releasing. Okay, the pendulum is starting to slow down. And it is reversing its spin. Now going clockwise. Now we are infusing, raising the frequency, installing, bringing the new high frequency energies in, and transmitting these frequencies to you. And the pendulum came to a standstill, and we'll just lock that in. Back to the wasp staff, the divine masculine, with active energy, using that to clear away any energy that's not serving. Switching to the lotus staff. And lotus staff working from the crystal skull, allowing lotus to grow and bloom, move through all the levels, raising the frequency. All the way up to the stone that we received at the temple, and up and beyond. And taking on the sistrum again, raising the energy and the frequency. And finally, the crystal skull. It's moving through our grid. And it is landing on the radiance card right on top and touching the stone. Finally taking up the little protea wood pendulum And this is doing a final spin on all of this to lock the energy in. It's spinning quite fast actually. It's like going turbo booster here. Still spinning. Yeah, it's starting to slow down. Spinning, spinning, spinning. It's slowing down. And exhale all the air out of your lungs. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale deeply. Crystallize the experience. So hold the breath in. Crystallize that experience. Hold, 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 hold. Cross both arms over the chest. Hold the breath. And offer your breath up to the earth. So blowing into the earth. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale deeply. Suspend the breath. Hold the breath. Crystallize the experience. Hold, hold, hold. Cross both arms over the chest. I'll look up and we're going to offer our breath up to the sky and the heavens. It is done. You're ready. You may gently open your eyes. Coming back into the room, back into the space. And that's it for today's session. I hope that you received the healing. I hope that you, through the telling of the story, received what you needed to receive, and that you experienced through this storytelling and visual display that you would have received something. One thing that that I remember, just one more thing, there was something as we were walking up the mountain. At one stage I was looking at the people around me, and everybody's skin and hair and everything was green. Weirdest thing ever. Like your skin had green glowing off it, hair, everything was green. That happened before we got to the Hathor Temple. By the time we got to the Hathor Temple, it was almost like everything turned pink, which was quite interesting. I mean, the temple is quite pink, but it was interesting that our skin and everything turned green. And there is a god, ancient Egyptian god called Ptah, who has green skin, and it reminded us all of this particular Neteru or archetype. The green skin also continued in some of the other places that we went, but I'll talk about those in another session. So this is today's session. I'm sending you lots of love and light, and I hope that you received what you needed to receive in today's session. And I look forward to seeing you in our next session. Take care and goodbye.